Had picked up another wash plant. He wanted to run 2 plants, 2 crews. He gave us a choice. We could either work with him.
Everyone is talking about Chris Doumit leaving Gold Rush, and everyone thinks they have it figured out. Parker Schnabel set an impossible goal, and Chris finally broke. But that's the cover story. The real reason is a bombshell that the network would never air.
Everything has to be cleaned in the gold room. I can't do that. I just can't. Why have a third plant if you can't keep it clean?
It involves a massive financial disagreement that went down behind closed doors and a fundamental clash in values that made it impossible for Chris to stay. This wasn't a simple case of burnout, it was a dramatic falling out. The quiet, reliable foreman was pushed into a corner, and his departure was an act of defiance. Parker's impossible demand. The Klondike has a way of breaking even the strongest people. For Chris Doumit, a man who had become the very definition of reliable on Gold Rush, season 15 was a perfect storm. It wasn't just another season, it was an all-out assault on reality, driven by Parker Schnabel's most audacious goal yet.
Hell of a week.
Brennan's really been doing great with that little plant. This week, it gives us a 487-ounce.
Hey.
Parker didn't just want to mine gold, he wanted to mine an amount so huge it sounded like a typo. 10,000 ounces. That's over 600 pounds of pure gold, worth nearly $20 million. To hit a number that big, you can't just work hard, you have to do the impossible. And the weight of that impossibility landed squarely on Chris Doumit's shoulders. It's funny when you think about it. In a world of giant machines and massive earth-moving operations, the whole enterprise hinges on the tiny glittering specks recovered at the very end. That final step was Chris's domain, the gold room. Normally, managing the cleanup from 1 or even 2 wash plants is a demanding, meticulous job. An error there could cost thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars. But for this season, Parker wasn't running 1 or 2 plants. He decided to run 3 wash plants at the same time. There was Big Red, the reliable workhorse. There was Rock Monster, a beast in its own right. And then there was Lucifer, the massive main plant. 3 streams of gold-rich concentrates, all flowing into one man's hands. The workload went from hard to just plain brutal.
This is the first time that we've tried to run 3 plants at once. And really the success of the season depends on us being able to do it and keep 3 running.
Imagine finishing a 12-hour shift, your body aching only to realize you have to clean out the sluice boxes from not 1, but 3 massive machines. It's not just rinsing out some dirt, it's a painstaking process to make sure not a single flake of gold gets lost. For Chris, who isn't a young man anymore, this nonstop grind was more than just a job. It was a physical ordeal. He was the guy who never complained, the one who just got the work done. But this season, you could see the cracks forming. He was drowning. The pressure was so intense that for the first time in his long career with Parker, he had to speak up. It was either that or collapse. Something had to give. The crew was stretched so thin that pulling someone off a dozer or a rock truck to help in the gold room was out of the question. Every person was essential to feeding the 3 hungry wash plants. This left Chris in a tough spot. He finally threw out a name, Tatiana Costa. She was one of the best equipment operators on the team, but she had 0 experience in the delicate art of gold recovery. It was a desperate move.
Tatiana, maybe?
She's like one of our top operators.
Yeah.
Mitch and Tyson are not going to be happy if Tatiana comes out of the field.
Proposing to take a top operator out of the field was a huge ask, one that Parker's other foremen, Mitch and Tyson, were not going to like. But the alternative was watching Chris walk away for good. Parker, for all his relentless drive, knew he couldn't lose Chris. The decision was made. Tatiana would be trained and Chris would finally get some help. But you have to wonder, was it already too little? Too late? The damage was done. The message was clear. Parker's ambition for 10,000 ounces was more important than the well-being of his most loyal man. More than a miner. To really get why Chris Doumit's departure is such a massive deal, you have to understand who he is. He wasn't just another guy on the crew, he was the secret ingredient to Parker's incredible success.
Everything has to be cleaned in the gold room. I can't do that. I just can't. Why have a third plant if you can't keep it clean?
Here's the crazy part. Chris Doumit wasn't even a gold miner to begin with. He stumbled into this world almost by accident. He started out as a carpenter, hired to build cabins for Todd Hoffman's original crew back in the early seasons. He was just a guy with a hammer and a saw. But one thing led to another, and soon enough, he found himself knee-deep in the mud and the madness of gold mining. And it turned out he had a knack for it, a real one. When he eventually made the switch over to Parker's team in Season 4, that's when everything clicked into place. Parker was the young, fiery prodigy with the big ideas, but Chris was the steady hand, the voice of experience that turned those wild ambitions into actual weighable gold. His meticulous work in the gold room helped Parker smash records year after year. Without Chris ensuring that every possible ounce was recovered, Parker's legendary gold totals simply wouldn't exist. He wasn't just cleaning gold, he was maximizing profit and turning a risky operation into a finely tuned money-making machine. But let's be real, his value went way beyond the numbers on a scale. Chris was the glue that held the entire operation together.
You know what? With 2 plants, I could do it, but we're scattered. Bob's this way and Red's that way, and I hate to be whining and complaining, but this is reality. I can't do 3.
Gold mining is a pressure cooker. You've got long hours, brutal weather, constant equipment breakdowns, and a boss who demands perfection. Tempers flare, arguments break out, and morale can sink faster than a rock in a pond. In that chaotic environment, Chris was the calm in the storm. With his easygoing attitude and sharp sense of humor, he knew how to diffuse tension and keep the team from turning on each other. He was the guy everyone, including Parker, could turn to when things got too intense. He was more than a foreman. He was a mentor and a friend. Over the years, he became a key decision maker. Parker trusted his judgment on everything from the best way to process a certain type of pay dirt to managing crew drama. He wasn't just an employee, he was a foundational piece of the entire empire. When Parker set the ridiculous goal of running 3 wash plants, it was Chris who had to figure out the logistics of making it work, even as it was breaking him.
I'm gonna wander over and take a look-see and see how we're doing.
Fire it up!
Looking a lot better.
His departure isn't like losing a good rock truck driver, it's like pulling the cornerstone out of a building. The whole structure is now at risk of collapse. He went from being an outsider with 0 experience to one of the most respected and indispensable figures in the entire industry. He is the backbone of the operation. So if he was so valuable, why was he pushed so hard? The kid who couldn't stop. You can't talk about the pressure on Chris Doumit without talking about the source of that pressure, Parker Schnabel himself. Parker isn't just a gold miner, he's a phenomenon. Born in the mid-90s in the tiny town of Haines, Alaska, he was practically raised in a gold mine. His grandfather, the legendary John Schnabel, ran the Big Nugget mine, and while other kids were playing video games, Parker was learning to operate bulldozers and excavators.
You find anything?
What do you think, Grandpa?
Oh my! Ooh, that is beautiful.
Here's another one. Isn't that awesome?
I won't be able to sleep.
By the time he was old enough to drive a car, he was already an old pro with heavy machinery. He briefly considered going to college to study geology, but let's be honest, a classroom could never contain his ambition. Instead of taking out student loans, he took his life savings and poured it into his own mining operation. At just 16 years old, he took over the family mine. Imagine being a teenager and telling grown men twice your age what to do. But he wasn't just a bossy kid. He had the knowledge and the work ethic to back it up. Then came Gold Rush, and the world was introduced to this teenage mining prodigy. But being on TV wasn't enough. In a move that stunned everyone, he left his family's operation, went to the Yukon, leased his own ground, and started from scratch. It was a massive gamble, but it paid off spectacularly. In his very first solo season, he pulled over 1,000 ounces of gold out of the ground. From that moment on, his trajectory was a straight line pointing up. His gold totals grew exponentially each season, leaving his rivals like Todd Hoffman in the dust. He wasn't just mining, he was innovating, constantly pushing for more efficiency, bigger machines, and higher yields.
Oh, this is looking pretty good.
Yeah, it is. It's going good. We're getting somewhere anyway.
I was really hoping you were going to be at a spot where I could grab this dozer from you and grab the other 11 too and take them up Australia Creek. I don't see us getting through the dirt without the big dozer.
Yeah, me neither. Like, we've paid royalties on the pits. We have to get the pits done.
This relentless drive is what made him a multi-millionaire before he was even 30. But that same drive has a dark side. Parker's ambition is insatiable. Hitting a record isn't a cause for celebration, it's just a new baseline that has to be shattered the following year. This creates an environment of unending pressure. There is no good enough. This obsession has taken a toll on his personal life. His relationship with Australian veterinary nurse Ashley Ewell, who even appeared on the show, fell apart because he admitted he couldn't balance work and his personal life. For Parker, mining always comes first. This single-minded focus is what led to the 10,000-ounce goal. To him, it wasn't an insane, crew-breaking target, it was the next logical step. He is so focused on the summit that he sometimes fails to see the people he's pushing to get there, people like Chris, who have given him years of loyalty and hard work. But the numbers don't lie, and they reveal a shocking pattern. Reading between the lines. Did Chris Doumit really leave the most successful gold mining operation on television just because he was tired? The short answer is no. The real reason is something more complicated and frankly more human. It wasn't one single thing. It wasn't just the 10,000-ounce goal or the pressure of running 3 plants. It was the crushing weight of everything combined, a slow burn that finally reached its flash point.
Gold all line up in there. There's gold along here. They might be a lot of work, but maybe these riffles are working. Well, Parker threw down 2,000 ounces this year. Thought 1,000 was difficult. We're gonna need really good cleanups every time.
Let's connect the dots here. For years, Chris was the quiet professional, the bedrock of the crew. He helped Parker go from being a promising kid to a gold mining titan. Think about the numbers. Season 5, over 2,500 ounces. Season 7, over 4,300 ounces. Season 8, over 6,200 ounces. Those numbers don't happen without a master in the gold room.
Well, you threw a 5,000 ounce goal at us. You nailed that. You threw a 7,000 ounce goal. Our season total is 7381.1 for the season.
Chris was instrumental in generating tens, if not hundreds, of millions of dollars in revenue. Yet when Parker decided to chase his most extreme goal yet, it was Chris who was put in an impossible position, forced to work himself to the breaking point. The The thing is, you have to wonder if, after all those years, Chris started to feel like just another piece of equipment. A valuable piece, sure, but one that could be run into the ground until it broke. The decision to bring in Tatiana was a solution, but it was a solution to a problem Parker himself created. For a man like Chris, who values loyalty and respect, that must have been a tough pill to swallow. It sends a message that the goal is all that matters, not the people. This wasn't a snap decision made in the heat of a tough season. This was years of accumulated exhaustion, both physical and mental. It's the story of a man looking at his future and asking, is it worth it?
So Tyson's got some really super coarse tailings, but he's got probably 7 or 8 tons of rock on top of that pipe at sleeves so it won't get crushed.
Is another season of unrelenting stress, of chasing another impossible number for someone else's legacy, worth sacrificing his health and his peace of mind? The real reason Chris Doumit left is that he chose himself. He chose to step away from the madness before it consumed him completely. He had nothing left to prove. He helped build the empire. He saw it reach heights nobody thought possible. And then he decided he was done. It wasn't about quitting, it was about knowing when to walk away. It's a decision most of us can understand, choosing a quiet life over a chaotic one, even if it means leaving a mountain of gold behind. Was Chris Doumit a victim of Parker's ambition, or did he simply cash in his chips at the right time? Let us know your thoughts below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.